Let's go, folks. Time for the Gibby Show.
How you doing, baseball fans, and welcome to another edition of the Gibby Show presented by Miller Lite, the official beer of Major League Baseball and the Gibby Show. I'm John Arezzi, and joining me, the two-time manager of the Toronto Blue Jays, member of the 1986 World Champion New York Mets, the best-selling author, the man who always tells it like it is, direct from San Antonio, Texas, back in San Antonio after getting back from Yellowstone, baseball life for himself, John Gibbons. John, welcome back to Texas.
Johnny, hey, glad to be back, man. Good to see you. Yeah, I don't know why I just don't move out there, I've been out there 6 times in the last May to May, so maybe
you're there enough. I think you're going there more often. I think you're going there more often now to get away from your 2 dogs. Waylon and Willie.
Hey, Waylon and Willie. You know what? Yeah, I got these beautiful labs. Man, I think they're tough. I got 3 children, grown children. I think these dogs are tough at raising kids. Or it's usually the wife that has to do it both anyway.
Yeah, I tell you, they're getting huge. They're getting huge, and they're still young boys. My goodness.
Hey, we eat good. We eat good here at the Gibbons household. Trust me on that.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. Well, we got a great show for everybody today. We'll go over all things Blue Jays as we always do, Gibby. And John, you've secured another great guest for this week. We're going to bring on the Gabbin with Gibby segment, of course, brought to you by Tim Hortons. That'll be Jays catcher Danny Jansen. So that'll be a great one. It's a second time on the show, by the way. We'll have another roast and toast inspired by our friends at Miller Lite. But we're going to get right into it right now. Let's get to the leadoff. Gibby, the Jays remain at the bottom of the AL East, coming home from a 7-game road trip. They lost 3 or 4 to the first place Tampa Bay Rays, and then they won 2 or 3 from Minnesota. But there's a glaring stat here. They're 6-15 against those AL East rivals. The first week of June is right upon us now. And it's traditionally the time, I know Memorial Day, it's not celebrated in Canada, but in baseball terms, Memorial Day is kind of a good indicator of where a team is going. It's not early any longer. The season's here. We're getting ready to get into the depths of the summer. Talk about the Jays and what's going on right now.
Are they like 10, 12 games under 500?
No, they're 1 game above 500 as we tape this.
Oh. So they're playing average right now. They're at least average, You know what, Johnny? Yes. It's people don't want to hear it's early anymore, but it is early. It's not like they're stinking it up. They've had their this is what happens with expectations, right? When you bring in some new really good players and you think automatically it's gonna and you could say they got off to a good start. The one big concern probably is they've struggled in the American League East, surprising, yeah, of course it is. Maybe the good thing is that you're not playing as many games against those guys until the end when it matters. So the end of the season is going to be that much more important. It looks like, I think it was big. They won 2 out of 3 to finish up in Minnesota. Tampa losing 3 out of 4. I don't care how good you are or how bad you are. It's tough to win down there for some reason. So I dismiss that, but Tampa's got a great team this year, obviously. I'm not worried. You know what? I'm a little bit surprised, but I'm not worried about them. I think they got the team that can do it. Now you look at the teams they're going to be running, looking at say it's a wild card they're looking at right now. Some pretty good, formidable teams, no doubt. And even with the things have changed a little bit in the American League West because you got Texas playing so good this year, and then naturally the world champs, the Astros. Yeah, so the Central, you can kind of forget that probably, obviously, except for whoever wins that thing. So it's going to be a dogfight. But I don't think, there's been some things, the hitting lately, with guys in scoring position, I think has been, I've read it's been an issue. Maybe some sloppy play here and there. I don't know how accurate all that is, as far as the sloppy play. But there's, what happens when teams start struggling and they start, everybody and their brother wants to know why. It's natural for players to start, forcing things, right? Make things happen, to help the team get a big win or something. And that's when things usually, backfire because that's when you make mistakes. You run into mistakes. You're too aggressive, let's say, on a base pass. It's not because you're being stupid. It's because you're trying to make something happen instead of allowing it to happen. But that's kind of human nature in a way. But yeah, it's there's a couple things they got to get ironed out. There's no doubt. One of them, number one is probably Alek Manoah.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
But other than that, But other than that, you know what? I think it's way too early to write this team off. They're a good team. They should be. But I said I don't know how many times I said it when I was there. Listen, in the end, if we're good enough, we'll be there, and if we're not, we won't. It's pretty much that simple.
That's simple.
It's instead of like every day dissecting, well, what went wrong today? We got to win this many games, blah blah blah. It's too difficult.
Well, that's kind of why the media loved you so much. I mean, because you kept it simple. It's like, if we're good enough, we're going to be there. If we're not, we're not. I mean, that's kind of the bottom line.
Hey, Bobby Cox, the first time I ever met him, Hall of Fame manager, great dude. He, I was talking to him. He said something. We was talking. Somehow got on the media or something. Jerry Howarth, our longtime radio guy, was with us. So maybe media came up. And he said, Gibby, John. He called me. I think he says, hey, listen. All I ever did is just talk a lot and say nothing. There you go. That's what I'm trying to do. It makes perfect sense. Talk a lot, they'll write it down, but say nothing. Yeah.
Well, I tell you, you did have an interesting comparison when you look at the Jays, who are, around the 500 mark. You were mentioning a team a couple of years ago that won the World Series, being about the 500 mark, I believe, in August, and that was the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah, exactly. Going to win it all, but. Of course, it was around the trade deadline. Anthopoulos made some key moves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not the marquee players that he made in 2015 with the Blue Jays, but he brought in some real gamers, and he basically identified. You almost have till the end of July. I think they maybe changed the date now, but to assess your team, right? And if you're in it right there, that you acquire the players you need, they're going to put you over the top. That's what happened in Atlanta 2 years ago. Okay, that's what the Blue Jays are doing now. They're looking at what they got, saying, okay, we may need to do that. We got a month and a half. They're not going to disappear, and I would be very shocked if that happened. I think they'll hold their own. They're at home. They'll play well this week. Schedule's in their favor. And then come trade deadline, they'll make a couple moves and be there. I thought, I definitely thought they could win the division. That may be stretching it a bit now, but the beauty of the wild card.
Yeah, who expected Tampa Bay to do what they're doing? I don't think anybody did. They're a great team, but this has been a really great start for them. But we're going to go right into Manoah, because that is kind of like when you look at the Blue Jays and you see the focal point of what everybody seems to be focusing on is this young man who's 25 years old. He continues to struggle. 11 starts. He's 1-5, 5.53 ERA, and he went 0 for 4 in his last 7 games. And compared to last year, he's getting fewer batters to chase. He's getting fewer first pitch strikes. He's hitting the zone less. So there's a lot going on with him. Last year, 25 quality starts, second best in the LA. He was third in ERA last year, fourth in WHIP. Today, he's third worst in quality starts, third worst in ERA, last in the league in WHIP. The Jays don't have the depth, as what I'm about to ask you is pretty controversial. They don't have the depth in the minor leagues. So what would you do? And it's always a front office decision anyway. Does Manoah need to spend some time in AAA? Let's say if the Jays had the depth to kind of fix what's going on with him right now. What's going on with him, John?
Johnny, heck, if anybody knew that question, it wouldn't be going on, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of a mystery too right now. My thoughts are, he made a big jump in innings, from the 21.
Yeah, 2021, 111 innings pitched, and then you go to 2022, 196. That was a really big jump, and he's got 53 innings pitched so far this year.
Yeah, so there could be a little arm fatigue. He can't be injured. They wouldn't be throwing him out there, and he's they're so smart nowadays. They know everything as far as injuries go, and so maybe it's just a little fatigue. Plus, I think what people forget this kid came on the scene fast, right? Alek did. Second or third, whatever it was last year in Cy Young at a young age, or very little experience. Okay, and but he's still a young pup, right? He's still learning. He's probably never failed in his life, and now, but the big leagues is tough, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he's finally going through a little bit of that. I'm sure he's pressing. He's a human being. He's got to be pressing, and they all do. We all do, But my money's on him. But I will say this: if it continues down this road, for his own sake, and if a confidence type thing, and he may end up going back down to AAA. Roy Halladay went all the way back down to A-ball, and then comes back and he's Cy Young, right? Just to figure some things out. It would be easy to do if he wasn't second or third, whatever it was in Cy Young last year, right? Because he's that good. And it's always that fine line that it's harder to do to some guys. And he's been so good, you've seen it. It's not like you're hoping, you've seen it. And you say, maybe this next start, it clicks. Maybe it's a next start. Okay. And so you hold on to that instead of having to send him down. But without being in the clubhouse, nobody really knows except those guys. And maybe they can't even figure it out. But I guarantee you, when your confidence gets shot a little bit, and it has to, you can tell me all you want, it doesn't. But it's, it can be tough. It's a tough profession. But I think, what's the old expression? If it doesn't kill you, it makes you better. And someday he'll look back at this and laugh. But they'll do what's best for him, and they'll do what's best for the team, and regardless.
Well, everybody's rooting for him for sure. They want to see him turn it around. He meant so much to the team last year. He's so dynamic when he's on. So, as you said, what makes you stronger, and this is going to be a time for him when he turns it around.
Yeah, Johnny. The only thing that bothers you a little bit is he's not hitting the strike zone like he used to. He's and that may be a thing. Maybe he's I don't know if his velos and stuff is still down a little bit, but that can come from arm fatigue, right?
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up. Is that a sign maybe of a tired arm when you can't hit that zone?
I've seen it, because the reason being, the guys I've had experience with is they try to maintain with the only velocity they know, and so when you get a tired arm that's not coming out quite as easy, they try to maintain that by humping up and reaching back for a little extra, right? And that throws out that can mess with the strike zone, because you yank more pitches, you just overthrow a lot, right? So, but he's not hurt, or they would not be pitching him. But I can guarantee you, there's never been a player in the big leagues that hasn't been knocked down a few times, right? This is the first time for him. Now it's how he's going to react with it, and we all know what kind of kid he is, and we know he'll figure this out. In the meantime, it hasn't helped the team, right?
Yeah. Well, as you said, he has that Buffalo mentality. You always say that about the kid, and
yes,
it should be it's a long season. Let's see him turn it around, and it'll be the benefit for the Jays fans, and everybody else. So we wish him the best.
I bet on him.
Turns it around as quickly as possible. And you are listening to the Gibby Show, presented by Miller Lite. And John, in the States, it was Memorial Day weekend. It's always the right time for enjoying some Miller Lite and barbecue. How'd you spend your Memorial Day weekend?
Oh yeah, I had a couple, and cooked up some crawfish and some steak, and
I was looking forward to seeing your crawfish, and then you put something up on the socials, and it's like you open it up. I'm cooking some crawfish, and it was stacked with Miller Lights, John.
Well, I don't know what happened. Either that was my mistake that they weren't in there. It was my wife's mistake, or maybe my two new lab puppies ate them. I don't know, but anyway, I had a couple Miller Lights.
You got to teach
those
Miller
time. It tastes like Miller time.
Puppies to fetch. Teach those puppies to fetch you when you say Miller Lite. They go in the cooler and they bring one out to you. I'm sure.
That's right. Exactly.
Exactly.
It's funny down here, but I've told you this before. My family's all from Boston, right? Mm-hmm. We eat lobster up there. Down south there, you get these crawfish. They look like they're miniature lobster.
I know.
And before I met before I met my new wife and started eating these things, we used to fish with them. I thought they're great big bass bait, right? Now I'm eating them. Maybe so. It's like, what's going on?
Wash them down with a good Miller Lite, that's for sure.
That's right.
Corner booths, sticky floors, weekdays that feel like weekends. You never forget the way some things taste. Miller Lite, great taste, 90 calories. Tastes like Miller time.
All right, we have one other thing to talk about, and that's the Jays' upcoming schedule. Of course, it's been crazy for them. They've just finished playing 17 games in 17 days. They have 1 day off, and now they're playing another 13 straight days. They'll be facing the Brewers. They're going to go play the Metsies. They're playing my Metsies. Francisco Alvarez, they'll be seeing him for the first time. Then they go to Houston and Minnesota. You're playing the violin. It's a long stretch. It's not getting easier. John, but what your philosophy? You're playing the sad violin, but that's sarcastic, isn't it? You got to tough it up and play.
Yeah,
What you're saying?
No, it's big leagues, man. In every team that does the same thing. That's the beauty of the sport of baseball, right? Play 162 games. In the team that survived this and end up winning, getting there, it's makes it that much more impressive, man. Because you survive those. I mean, it's not easy playing that many games in a row. You get banged up. And it's a mental grind, especially if you're not playing. If you're playing great, you breeze right through that, right? When you're struggling, now it's beating on you up here. But in the end, when you get into that postseason, you look back and it's pretty cool. But nobody feels sorry for you, it's better than playing 30 straight in the minor leagues as opposed to 17 straight in the big leagues.
In the South Atlantic League.
So, gosh.
Well, it is a marathon. It is a marathon for sure, and you got to be tough to be in it. But, you're blessed to be in the game as well at this level. That's for sure. So, tough it up.
Yeah, and these guys are good. These guys are good. And they got a good team. They'll be fine.
Yes. That'll wrap up the leadoff, and now it's time for Gabbing with Gibbies, brought to you by our friends at Tim Hortons. And wow, Tim's new barbecue crispy chicken loaded bowls and wraps are here. It's a barbecue on barbecue experience, delicious ingredients like crispy sea glaze and topped with creamy barbecue sauce. You got to try them now, all at Tim's for a limited time only. The barbecue crispy chicken loaded bowls and wraps. That sounds delicious, Gibby.
Hey, Tim's isn't messing around, are they? That's a serious menu they got there.
Absolutely, and I believe that that there is a post on your social media which had Tim's in the background, and I thought that was really cool. Do you want to tell us what that picture was about that someone sent to you?
Yeah, I got this picture. It's got the Tim Hortons restaurant there, and in the foreground you got these three moose running in front of it. Trying to get through the drive-through or something.
Yeah,
but
they heard about those loaded bowls.
Exactly, but it's like if that's not Canada, I don't know what is. But it was really cool. And somebody asked, "Well, did my wife shoot that?" No, I wish she had though.
Yeah, the quote was the most Canadian picture ever taken, and who sent it this on Twitter, Melissa Johnston, and she did ask you, did your wife take this pic, Gibby? Very cool pic, very cool.
Yeah, the only way you could have made that even more Canada probably is if there was like 4 feet of snow right there they were running through.
Absolutely. Well, now it's time for Gabbing with Gibby. We're so happy to bring on our Gabbing with Gibby guest for the second time. He appeared on this program last year. One of the mainstays with the Blue Jays since his debut in 2018. He's had several big hits this season, 2 walk-offs in 3 days. He's currently on the 10-day IL with a left groin strain. But let's bring on one of Toronto's catchers, favorite of ours here at the show, Danny Jansen. Danny, how you doing?
Doing good. Thanks for having me back.
Hey, you look. I hate to say you look a little tired, a little more tired. Is that how you say it? More tired? Because you've had a new baby, man, since the last time we talked to you, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, baby is actually Miles is 7 months old today, so it's been flying by.
Hey, but I don't care what everybody says. It is the most wonderful thing in the world, but it's work, man. It is work.
It's work. It's work. Yeah, I got a great wife too. She handles the grunt of it during the season. So it's good. But being on the IL now and stuff, definitely being able to help out more. If there's some earlier mornings and stuff like that, catching up on sleep and stuff. So trying to get back. But silver lining in it, of course.
Hey, you know what? That doesn't surprise me one bit out of you. But hey, you just talked about what a wonderful wife you had. Didn't you hit that home run for her on Mother's Day or something?
Yeah. How about that? What a special day! It was first Mother's Day for my wife Alexis, and and it was just a cool way, of capping off a cool day already. So definitely one I'm never gonna forget. It's definitely up there for sure.
Hey, Danny, you know what? Talk about it's funny when you talk. The word clutch has been brought up, I think, twice today already. It's funny in baseball now. In this modern day analytics or something, I've talked to some front office guys, and I've made the point. I said, this guy's clutch. This guy, this is the guy you want up at the plate at certain times. And they'll say, well, clutch, that's not really a thing. It's blah, blah, blah. I said, I think that's where you guys got it all wrong, because there's certain guys, what everybody says, you got to be able to slow the game down, right, to be good at the big leagues, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's part of being clutch, man. When the game on the line, when everything's ratcheted up a notch, some guys can do that. Some guys can't, and some pretty good players can't do that. When it's here, it is, games on the line. You're one guy. I was with you a brief time in 18 when you debuted, but there was something about you could tell. You got the utmost confidence, right, when you're back there. And this, you're a rookie. You're cutting your teeth. You're trying to make it, right? But there's just some certain things stand out about certain guys, and you had that. For crying out loud, I don't think I ever got a walk-off hit. I didn't played about a year and a half in the big leagues, but in my minor league career, I don't think I ever. I used to get that tight butt. You get up there with a game. So there is something to it. I will guarantee it. You got that, man.
Yeah, the Mother's Day one, bases loaded with 2 outs. It's definitely, I remember stepping in the box and your heart rate's going a little bit, for sure.
Right.
And trying to get a good pitch to hit. I didn't even know what pitch it was that I hit. And then I got a pitch before that was at my kneecap, and I got out of the way instead of wearing it and tying the game. What a selfish play.
No, you're thinking of your wife, dude.
I just couldn't help it. I just fell over and dodged it. But then the second one, I remember stepping in the box, and my heart rate was definitely calmer. I was almost like, man, I got this. And that was different for sure. Probably because there's less than 2 outs. I try to simplify it. I just try to get the ball in the air on the Yankees one a couple of days later, and I ended up first pitch swinging, trying to lift something, and I hit a homer. So it's a little bit simpler. With the first one, on Mother's Day, it's like you got to get a hit, right? It's 2 outs, bases loaded, or get hit. So yeah, I think it was a little bit simpler mindset for me on the second one, but heart rate was going on both for sure a little bit. But yeah, it's been fun, man. It's definitely an amazing feeling getting a walk off and ending the game for your team and stuff like that. And I was definitely feeling confident both times sitting in the box.
Well, couldn't happen to a better guy, that's for sure. All right, Johnny, fire away over there.
All right, the first question I have obviously is about the injury. I mean, what's your rehab process? Is it just resting day to day? Is there certain regimens you have to go through to kind of get back? And what's the estimated timeline for you to return?
Yeah, it's a groin one, so as a catcher and stuff, I think that it's just building back strength and getting mobility back, which I did right away. It was a day or two after, I started feeling a lot better actually. So I think it was really the running that's going to be, maybe take a little bit of time, but for the most part, my range of motion and the strength was pretty good, day or two after the injury, which is a good sign. So now I think it's about day 5 or day 6 maybe now. And so far so good. I feel great. It's the same thing. It's kind of just building strength up again with it and doing activity. with just certain, change of direction and stuff like that. So it's been really good. So I'm excited to go back, to go today and hopefully, start running early this week. Maybe I'm always, trying to push it farther and do things fast, right? Trying to get back after 2 days, but I understand that, it takes a little bit of time, but, I'm feeling really good about it. So hopefully it's a quick one. Been on the IL, far too much for my liking the last couple of years. So, definitely.
You had the oblique. I mean, there's been other setbacks for you, but everyone's looking forward to you getting back sooner rather than later. And I know it was retroactive to May 25th. So hopefully, really soon we see you back out there playing and, with the team right now. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. With the team right now. What's kind of, you're there every day, you're seeing what's going on. I mean, there were high expectations in the beginning. It's a roller coaster ride throughout the season, obviously, but the team right now is clearly underperforming. Any thoughts on that? And this is the time to get tough, obviously. So I'd love to get your assessment on what's going on with the Jays.
Yeah. The good thing is that we never lose each other in the clubhouse. It's a great group of guys. We understand that it's hard. We have leaders, guys with a lot of experience, guys, have been in the league for a while now. So it's a great group of guys, and we understand that it's hard, and we understand that, we're going to go through skids like we kind of, just kind of came out of and just went through and stuff like that. And it is a roller coaster ride. So, as long as we got each other in that clubhouse, which we do, we understand that, we're going to pull for each other and we're going to work our butt off and for each other and, come out of this thing, look at each other in the face and saying, you gave it your all. So I think it's just, baseball's tough and we go through skids like this, but the one thing I will say is it's a great clubhouse in there and we haven't lost each other in there. So I'm just going to keep pushing, keep fighting.
Yeah, the chemistry is really there. You could see it with the interactions of the players, and you love watching the chemistry of the Toronto Blue Jays. I do want to ask a question about Manoah. You caught him just one game this year versus Baltimore on May 20th, which was one of his better starts of the season. What do you think's going on with him? He seems to be a different pitcher in a way than the last couple of years. Can you pinpoint anything that you think might be going on with Alek?
Nothing. He's a bulldog. He's he's our guy. He's proven it. He's proven himself. I really think it's one of those things where he hasn't struggled that much in the big leagues before. So when it happens and stuff like that, which it's obviously bound to happen to anybody, you just got to fight through it, push through it. And I think that he's on his way through it. It's definitely, nobody holds himself to a higher standard than Alek Manoah. He's preparing, gets his body right. He is ready to go out there, every start and go 7 at least. And I can tell you that everybody on that team believes he will. So it's just, a little skid for himself, I think. And he's finding a way to fight through it. But I know everybody's, trusts him and got his back and understands that, we believe he's going to go 7 every time he's got the ball too.
Yeah. Talk about the impact of Chris Bassitt as well. I mean, that he's had on the pitching staff. He's come over from the New York Mets, and he was he provided stability for the Mets last year, all season long, and he seems to be providing that as well for the Jays. What's your assessment and what's your opinion on Chris Bassitt and working with him on the team?
Yeah, he's great. It's definitely different. He's one of the only guys that calls his own game with the pitch comp thing, and that's definitely a different feeling, right? But the guy prepares. I caught his first start and it was an ugly one, that first one, and then I caught him again in Pittsburgh, and that was when he was rolling, and I think that it was just the first start was just the first start, right? It's just sometimes it takes guys a couple times. It's whatever, right? So definitely came out of that, and he's been a pro for sure. He's got 30 pitches, it feels like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, very intense. Also very intense guy. And,
just like intense, competitive, and you love that. It's great. It's great to see that. There's he makes a pitch and he didn't execute it, and you can hear him on the mound. You know what I mean? That's great though. I love that. So but he prepares, man. It's fun to be in those meetings when he's going to go and get the ball, and it's different when you're used to calling the pitches, but when a guy's got so many things, the biggest thing as a catcher and pitcher, you want to be on the same page. You want to have that flow, that rhythm, and with the clock only being like 15 seconds, it's a bit difficult. So he's definitely grabbed that and made that adjustment, and it's been good.
Introducing Tim's Barbecue Crispy Chicken Loaded Bowls and Wraps. Freshly prepared with ingredients like crispy seasoned chicken that's tossed in a smoky barbecue glaze and topped with a creamy barbecue sauce.
Can I take another bite?
Try them for a limited time, only at Tim's.
One last thing, and this is directed to really Gibby, because in our discussions on the show, he's always singing your praises. I know you guys met 2018, John. I mean, but there's something special about Danny that you seem to always put him up and say what a great player he's been. And I like to just kind of get, why is Danny Jansen so special to John Gibbons?
Well, number one, he's a tremendous young man, and still young, and a good family man. He's got all the characteristics that you want in an individual. So you can throw the fashion out the window. He's a stand-up guy, all that. And what we're talking about here, he's a throwback baseball player, right? He's like a manager's dream. He's a pitching staff's dream. And, the first time I knew about Danny. I'd seen him play, with spring trainings and all that. But when he first came to the big leagues, he got his opportunity in 2018. That's where Russell was at the end. And, he came in, took over for Russell. And you could just tell, and it's not easy getting there to the big leagues the first time, but you could just tell he carried himself like a pro. There's certain things you look at, you see a lot of guys, young kids come and go, and there's certain things you look for. And a lot of times you're right on. It'll tell you, does this guy got a chance to make it? And a lot of it's the way they carry themselves, the way they move, or how they handle failure, because it's nothing but failure. And you said, and all those good, the things you want to see, Danny had, he came up on a team that wasn't very good at the time. We were taking our lumps, but he did a tremendous job with the pitching staffs. So yeah, and it sticks out, And like I said, but even more importantly, he's a man's man. He's a good dad, good family man, great husband, all that stuff, So
Thanks, Gibby.
Damn, dude. Hey, no, seriously, I meant that. But hey, earlier we were talking about Manoah and about the team, right? And I think what people don't understand, it's like, you get on social media or in just your hometown medias or whatever it is. When you go through a little struggle, let's start with like Alek, right? I think he made a huge jump in innings pitched, right? From the year before. He knew to the big leagues. I think he might have been over 200 innings. That takes its toll. Maybe that might be affecting him a little bit. Maybe not. Probably not. He's a young guy, but it doesn't take much to get out of whack, And when the guys struggle in the big leagues, it's like everything's like here. It's like you're not gonna be able to go a month or 2 months struggling and nobody's even gonna notice, because that's the big leagues. And that's why the big leagues is so tough. And the same thing with the team, right? You go through those skids, it's like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with this team? We're guaranteed to win the World Series. No, it ain't that easy. But it's like, what's wrong with them? And we do it on these shows now that I'm a media darling, dude. But no, one thing, and I think it's very important. The teams I manage, same stuff happens to pretty good teams, right? You hit those lulls and you're going, okay, because here it comes. They ask, what's wrong? Yeah. You're not going to win every game. But I used to tell the media all the time. I said, listen, if we're good enough, we'll be there. If we're not, we won't. It's pretty much that simple. And you know what? We got a good team. Let's ride it out instead of like dissecting it. Well, we're on a 2 for 3, two wins and 8 losses. Okay, you know what? The team with a better record down the road, they got the same thing's going to happen to them during the year. So it's that's kind of what makes the big league so tough. And but what makes it even nicer nowadays though is you got the wild cards. And it's not easy in that American League East, man. That's a bear.
No, it's a beast.
Yeah, it is, and it's intense and all that. So, but that's why we said earlier too that the team needs you when you get back. You provide that leadership, that calmness. I know what's going on. I got some Pete Walker's an old buddy of mine, my old pitching coach. We've talked many times on how the pitching staff relies on you. And that's a calming influence. And you talk about even Bassitt calling his own pitches. Very few guys can do that because, and I think it's important. I think it's better most of the time, when the catcher's got a better feel what that guy's got than he does. Most of those guys, you know what? Do you agree with me?
Yeah. And there's one thing that he does well too, though. It's like, if we get a reading and stuff behind the plate, we call something. It's all right. He's all in. You know what I mean? Because you're right there, right? And you do see stuff. You see if a guy's cheating to something, or if you have a feeling that he is, or he's diving, and all these things. And he's got all these pitches that go each way that can kind of almost exploit that, right? So he does a good job of kind of having. It's not like his way or the highway, right? Like if there is something, and he's very good. He's on it. And if there is something ever, then that we see and stuff like that, we definitely have the reins to call it,
Right. Well, yeah, but he's different. There's a few guys like that, veteran guys that have been around, right? We had Russell Martin on the show a few weeks ago, and he was even talking about, we were asking him about the calling signs, and he was he didn't really understand. He's like me, he didn't really understand how it all worked. But Russell made the comment on, sometimes these pitchers get blinded out there. I'm sitting back here catching it, and they get racing. The catchers, the good catchers anyway, they see it reality where a lot of times those pitchers don't, and that's why you have the confidence of all those guys, because you know what? There's an art to that. That's not something that everybody has,
I remember after the first tough start with Bassitt, right? It's like I remember feeling after that game, it's like I don't want ever my guy on the mound to think that it's like all on him. You know what I mean? Like it's like almost like I want to take the blame for, if a guy gets crushed, it's like I want it to be like my fault. You know what I mean? Instead of the pitchers where I didn't want it to feel like it was all on him because he's the one making all the calls. You know what I mean? It's like it's different. It's just like, it's instead of like, the catcher making the calls and being in it. And if something happens, I'll take the blame for it. It's like, all right, that could have been a dumb call on my part. You know what I mean? It's like kind of missed that a little bit, which is, it's just a little different, but yeah, it's definitely taking some time a little bit, you know what I mean? With the pitchers calling it, but the rhythm's important. And, if a guy's on it, like Chris Bassitt is, and does his homework and reads swings on the mound, he's good at it. You know what I mean? So it's good.
Oh yeah. Hey, that's why you're going to be a good manager someday. But you probably make enough money in the game you won't have to go that coaching route. But anyway, but if you think about it, you're one of those. You got that mentality. Okay, I'm going to take responsibility for that, because there's a lot of guys out there go, "Hey, you threw the damn thing. Hey, don't look at me." And there's a lot of guys running around that don't want any responsibility. That's where you stand up. And see, that's what good managers do too. You know what? When the team's scuffling, it's okay. You know what? It's not, you can't point fingers and say, well, we're not doing this. It's like, hey, you know what? We got to figure it out. It's my job to figure it out. Right. And then when the team's good, you guys get all the credit, which you deserve, so that mentality. That's a winning mentality. Everybody doesn't have that though, man. It's easy to make excuses, and hey, it's hard to look in that mirror sometimes too now.
Yeah.
It really is,
Yeah.
So, all right, brother. Well, listen, man. Hey, you got a long season to go. I'm going to tell you, they're not going to win unless they get you back. So the sooner the better. Obviously, with that, you got Milwaukee. You got Milwaukee coming down. Our big first baseman.
Yeah,
he's coming back tonight, man. Hey, he's turned into Rowdy, man. He got a great baseball name. He's done a pretty good job over there in Milwaukee. Make sure you tell him hello for us, will you?
Yeah, I will for sure. Rowdy actually he officiated my wedding.
What? He did?
Did you know that? Yeah. He officiated when we had it 2022. Yeah. Yeah, he did a great job too, Rowdy. Rowdy did a great job. He crushed.
I love Rowdy.
He crushed
I'll be
it.
darned. What is he, a minister or what?
No, he just, I asked him to do it almost not as a joke, but I just kind of asked him. He's like, yeah, he took it by the reins, and I was just like, all right. And then next thing you know, down the road, it's like, oh yeah, Rowdy's burying us. It's like, all right, here we go.
Awesome. I've heard of that happen. People are going that right. That's pretty cool. So you see, I didn't know you guys were that tight. I guess you are, man.
Yeah, we got drafted together, played at a lot of levels together. We played in the big leagues for a little bit together too. So I've been at pretty much every level with Rowdy, and I'm proud of him over there. He's doing well.
Oh yeah, I tell you, I hated to see him get traded, man. Because he, when he came up, man, you could just tell he's got that knack too, right? I mean, the sucker can hit, So yeah. That's a pretty good group you had that came along at the same time over there.
Yeah. There's definitely quite a few of us still around. It's Timmy Mays. Me and Timmy Mays are the two guys still left, but good group of guys.
Well, Romano too.
Romano too.
Jordan, that's a pretty good core, man. That's some vital pieces. But anyway, hey, listen, we're proud of you. We're rooting for you. Get yourself healthy. Get back there and lead the way like you always do. And hey, sometimes remember you got to take that flack. It's coming. You know what? But in the end, man, you get the last laugh.
Yeah.
All right.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
All right, pal. Now go get ready to go. Feeding time, man. It's your turn, man.
Yeah. We're about to wake up, so it is.
Thank you so much, Danny, for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Dying for a road trip. You're gonna be looking for a road trip, man. I got to get some sleep. Danny, thanks, pal. Good luck.
Thanks, guys.
Say hello to the boys. Okay,
I will.
bye-bye.
Appreciate it, man.
Another great gabbing with Gibby. And of course, that's brought to you by our friends at Tim Hortons. What a great guest Danny is, John. What a great guy.
Yeah, Danny's just got it together, and I'm just talking about life, right? Yeah, but hey, I think the most impressive thing is Rowdy Tellez married him, for crying out loud. Just like, maybe that's what you and I ought to be doing, man. We ought to get our I don't know. Can we get a reverend's license?
I want to be ordained.
Whatever.
I want to be ordained. It's be a good little side hustle, right?
That's right.
Crazy stuff. But anyway,
you do it in Nashville. I'll go out there and do it in.
There we go.
Yellowstone. There you go.
And then if I ever get married, then you could ordain me and and do my wedding. Yeah,
exactly.
It ain't happening at this age. I'll tell you that. I got no patience at all. Anyway, that was a great interview, and now inspired by our friends at Miller Lite each and every week, we're going to get the roast and toast for the week. And John, we're going to start off with the roast. Oakland A's. They lost their 11th straight game this past Sunday. They're 11-45, and they're on a pace. I can't believe I'm even saying this. They're on a pace to break the 1962 New York Mets record of 40-120. It's crazy. They're 24 games behind the AL West leader, Texas Rangers, already. They're 21 games out of any wild card spot. A sad story for a once great franchise. They're roasting.
Yeah, Johnny. I tell you what. It's they're trying to move the team. I think they bought some land or something. So maybe I don't know. Maybe Vegas. They just So they're just stripping it down as to basically nothing to make it more attractive to a buyer or something. I don't know but the Oakland A's are one of the most storied franchises in baseball. You go back to the Catfish Hunters, Reggie Jackson, Vida Blue,
3 World Series in a row in the 70s.
Yes. I go on and on. Sal Bando, Joe Rudy, Raleigh Fingers. Yeah, does it get any better than that? So, what's going? I mean, that should never happen in
not in today's day and age, not with free agency, not with the way international players are integrated in the game. But when you start the season 11-45, it ain't looking good. But I'll tell you, I am happy in a way because that 40 wins and 120 losses as a Met fan all my life, I want to see someone else take that and run with it. Even Eddie Kranepool says that.
Hey, I guess. Well, okay. I guess that's a victory there. But
it'll be
the only good thing about it, the only good thing about this whole thing is, I guess, if you're a young player and you're getting an opportunity there, this may propel you. And some of those guys, if they're in other organizations, aren't even getting a chance. Probably not even getting called up, or not right by now anyway. So maybe that's the good thing, but. Yeah, it's sad to see. It should never happen.
It's sad for baseball.
Yeah, let's go. Baseball. Let's go.
Toasting. I mean, this is a whole different thing, but what an inspirational story happened in baseball. So this week we're going to toast Liam Hendriks, one of the most incredible stories of the 2023 season. Here's a guy who was diagnosed in December with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Chicago White Sox closer, and he battled to get back. He told the team in spring training, all right, you can put me on the 60-day IL, but I may come back before that. And he did. They activated him Monday. And last night I was watching some TV, and I got an alert on my screen that he was coming into the game. So I immediately switched to MLB Network, and there he was, and the whole place erupted to see him take the mound. He composed himself, the ovations from both teams, and he actually pitched in last night's game. What an inspiring story, and you know him.
Well,
That's
yeah,
our coach.
Johnny, yeah, that's life, you know. We get caught up in the entertainment business and sports, and this is big to all of us. You know, they're
Yes.
sports fans. But yeah, Liam pitched for us there in Toronto, and it was just a wonderful guy from Australia. Just a good dude with a great arm, right? And after he left us, he finally started putting it together and became a closer. Signed that nice big deal there with the White Sox.
Mhm.
But then, reality of life sometimes hits you, right? That's very rare, especially such a young, for a young man. And then to conquer it so fast, and it's just kind of such a good feel good story, And but sometimes we need, we need some of those kind of stories that kind of snap us back to, what's really important in life.
Yeah. And it was great to see him come back and take the mound. It was just
Yeah.
very, very emotional. It really was.
Corner booths, sticky floors, weekdays that feel like weekends. You never forget the way some things taste. Miller Lite, great taste, 90 calories. Tastes like Miller time.
Well, John, that's going to wrap it up for this week's edition of the Gibby Show. Don't forget to order your book, Gibby Tales of a Baseball Lifer by Gibby and Greg Oliver, audiobook coming soon. For John Gibbons, this is John Arezzi. We'll talk more baseball with you next week right here on the Gibby Show. Have a great week, everyone, and go Blue Jays.